What is this, a game to you? We playing games here? War games. Johnny.
The way you say it sounds like it's a question, but there's no question. We're definitely going to get War Games to start and end Survivor Series tomorrow night in Chicago. Looks like a tremendous setup, as we saw in SmackDown tonight.
Yeah. At the Allstate Arena. Beautiful setup for SmackDown. Crowd looked full, right? The building was full. Crowd looked excited. Cool setup with fans kind of behind the stage on the sides there as they come out near the tunnel.
The ref
I
guy
thought that was cool.
Front row again.
Say it again.
He was there. The ref guy, the ref fan, was like front row. He was there on Raw. He was there on Dynamite, and he more likely will be there tomorrow. So, it's Chicago if he's there.
What's with the wrestling companies going to Chicago? Dynamite was in Chicago this week. SmackDown's in Chicago tonight. Of course, Survivor Series in the same building in Chicago tomorrow night. I know it's a hot wrestling town, but my God, doesn't it seem like to you that they go to Chicago more than ever? Like WWE and AEW. AEW certainly goes to Chicago a lot. And I feel like maybe WWE's going to Chicago more because AEW goes there so often. It seems odd to me how much they're in Chicago. Like, I get it. It's a hot wrestling town. It's, big. But it's constant. They're always there. Works, though. They sell tickets.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's producing. The fact that you're getting... Like, they sold out, and then they had to make room for more seats, change their whole setup. That's what we have, like the setup we had tonight, because they actually didn't have that huge SmackDown wall. Instead, they freed up more seats. So this was better. You had more people there. The atmosphere felt better, which the show was a bit better, but you're going to get that when you do a double night, I find. It's kind of like what we had, too. Like, obviously, the pay-per-view will be better than the TV show. So hopefully Survivor Series is better. Though we don't have a lot of matches tomorrow, which is a little concerning.
Set a pretty low bar with the TV show tonight for Survivor Series.
A little bit, yes.
They don't have to do much to beat SmackDown. It was not the most outstanding wrestling show I've ever seen tonight. It was, it happened.
It happened. Yeah, exactly. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
Raw was better again this week.
You thought so, yeah?
Well, it really goes to show when you don't have Roman Reigns around, like SmackDown is really lacking. It helped we had Kevin Owens back this week, but even with that, SmackDown overall was still not very good.
Kevin Owens was good. I thought he was a highlight.
Lone highlight.
Yeah, he was good. But yeah, Jimmy James saying Chicago gets a lot of shows. I wonder from a Chicago wrestling fan perspective, is this more than ever? Or is this just kind of usual? Are they used to this much? Because to me, from my perspective, it seems like they're going to Chicago all the time. But maybe it's because AEW goes there so much. It seems like more. But AEW does like half of their big shows in Chicago.
Well, there's a bunch of things that happened in Chicago this year, right? Because not only did they get like CM Punk's return, then they got another bunch of shows in Chicago. Then they got the pay-per-view all out. Now they're getting this. Then they had Dynamite the week prior. I mean, this past Wednesday. It's a lot. But again, people show up for it, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And Jimmy James saying New York not so much for some reason, which, yeah, that's the one that kind of... It used to be that they were in New York far more often than Chicago,
That's
but
true.
the WWE, it doesn't seem like that these days, past few years. I like both cities. I think they're both great cities. I've been to Chicago. I've been to New York. I like them. I like being there. Nice cities, good wrestling towns. I'm not trying to disparage Chicago in any way. I'm just asking the question. Like, is it more than usual for you guys in Chicago? I love Chicago. I hope you get to see Chicago-made Punk tomorrow night. I hope you get the Punkster. I really do. I hope we get to see CM Punk in the WWE, and if he doesn't show up in Chicago, I hope he winds up being the devil in AEW, because no matter how you slice it, I would like to see CM Punk back in professional wrestling. I don't really care where. I just think that, time is ticking on his wrestling career. He's had some injuries. He only has a few more really good years left, and he was pretty damn good when he was in AEW on TV, backstage, whatever. I'm not backstage. I don't care. So hopefully we get to see CM Punk tomorrow night at Survivor Series. All signs pointing to no, right? It seems right now, 24 hours out, less than 24 hours out from the start of Survivor Series, it doesn't look like CM Punk is going to be showing up tomorrow night, which is a little disappointing. And I remember there was a time when we were sitting here doing the show right after CM Punk left AEW, and there were a lot of rumors that Punk was thinking about going to WWE, and Punk was going to go to WWE, and WWE was going to sign Punk, and it seemed like at that point it was going to happen. When was that? When did they actually fire Punk? September? Early September, late August?
Well, end of August, like September's 1st or 2nd or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And back then we knew, well, WWE's got a big show in Chicago coming up, and Roman Reigns isn't going to be on it. They might need something. CM Punk would be a pretty good surprise. It would be a pretty good time to have him return at Survivor Series in Chicago. So back in late August, people had tomorrow night circled on their calendar as a potential return date for CM Punk. But if you believe the wrestling media and the people that put out the backstage reports, they're saying that CM Punk is not likely to show up tomorrow. WWE has no deal in place with CM Punk, and he's not going to be at Survivor Series and is not making a return to the WWE. Because you got to figure, if they didn't bring him back for Survivor Series, do they ever bring him back? Would they ever bring him back? Maybe for a big match at Mania, but even then, I think it would be questionable. So, I don't think the WWE has much interest in CM Punk. I think the fans have interest in CM Punk. I think I heard some CM Punk chants tonight at Smackdown.
You did.
But I don't think he's going to be at Survivor Series. Doesn't look like it, which is a little disappointing. Because, there was a point in time where I thought, if I'm WWE, I got a show in a couple months in Chicago, big show, Survivor Series. I'd try to book CM Punk. Why not? Made sense. But now as we're getting closer and closer, it seems less and less possible.
Well, we also said they kind of don't need CM Punk. Like, it's great to have CM Punk, but they already have enough people in terms of stars. Like, CM Punk definitely adds to the show, makes it better, but they can survive without CM Punk. It doesn't, like, WWE doesn't need to run with CM Punk. And if you have Punk, that means you have to put him in a big spot. They'd rather probably have put the guys they already have in those spots instead. So someone to lose a spot at Mania, they're probably not thinking about that. They already have those spots filled, so that might be another issue. There's no spot for them, sadly, in their eyes.
They got a lot of stars, and they're doing good business right now. And CM Punk's most recent track record is he's not playing well with others. Why rock the boat? They're doing well. Why rock the boat? He's great. We like him, but he's going to come at a pretty high price tag. He's going to come where you got to handle him with kid gloves. You got to really take care of him and protect him and give him what he wants for, a while at least.
Some people won't like him.
Some people will be mad and won't be happy working with him. Is it worth it for the WWE? Is it worth it? Is CM Punk going to improve business that much that it's worth bringing a guy like him into the roster, into the locker room? I don't know. He did have friends in AEW. A lot of people did seem to like him. It's hard to tell. If I were the WWE, I would bring him in because, to me, the WWE is the place for all of the biggest stars in pro wrestling. And he is a big star in pro wrestling. He's the biggest free agent name in pro wrestling today. So why would they not be interested in a guy like CM Punk? You figure it out. You know how many times Vince tried to bring back the Ultimate Warrior? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And it was worth it every time. Every time.
96.
It was worth the attempt, John. Like, it didn't work, but it was worth trying to bring back the Warrior because he was such a draw. Like, he wasn't even that good, right? But people loved him, and there was an aura, and he was a legit, bona fide star. And they tried many times to bring him back and get him to work. WCW did it too. Like, companies tried after the early 90s when Warrior kind of went off the deep end and he left the WWE. They tried to bring him back a few times, and WCW tried to bring him back, and they had little runs with him because he was worth the effort. People didn't like him. He didn't get along with a lot of the guys in the locker room. He was really hard to deal with, probably harder to deal with than Punk. But, wrestling companies tried with the Warrior because the fans wanted to see him. I wanted to see him. When Warrior came back and he was on Nitro, I still remember how excited I was to see him face off with Hogan again. It was crazy. That was huge. People don't realize at that time that was massive. So, yeah, Punk, I think he's worth it. There's a history of difficult guys in pro wrestling. It's a business full of difficult people to deal with that have been top stars in the business. It's just kind of how it works. It's just sad to me for a guy so talented because he's whatever labeled as difficult or some people don't like him, where he's at a point where AEW and WWE aren't even interested. That's sad. It's too bad.
But it's like you said, though. I mean, he should show up somewhere because it would be sad if he doesn't, because he still has a lot to give to wrestling, and he probably doesn't have too much time in wrestling left. So get him while he still can do this at the level that he can, because it's a miss for everyone if you don't get to see him compete at his very best.
And you don't expect him either.
Well, I've been going back and forth on this. I said no, yes, no, yes. And, I felt no from the start, so I'll go with no again, just because it doesn't feel like they need him. It'd be awesome. I'd love to see it happen. I hope it does happen, but I don't think it's going to happen because judging by how Raw went, how they announced Randy Orton, they did that so people wouldn't think CM Punk is coming back. Like, they're trying to make sure, they're trying to lessen people's expectations at this point, because I think they realize people are expecting it. So that was to kind of calm things down, being like, it's not going to happen.
What about Nakamura? What's he saying, though? What's all this?
Well, what's he doing?
I don't know.
Is he? He's not wrestling. He's not doing anything. So
you like my Nakamura impression?
It seems like you're having trouble, or maybe
It's
a
like I'm
stroke,
having a stroke.
possibly.
I'm dying. It's not a good impression. So, what's he talking about? He's talking like he's calling somebody out, right? Ryan Katz is saying, who's Nakamura calling out? Speaking of calling out, I want to give a shout out to Angelo Contagonis, who's in the chat right now. My man Angelo over at join.ringsidereport.net. He is a longtime member, as is Lior. Shout out to Lior. Shout out Lior and Angelo, members of the team. But Ryan Katz, bringing up a good point. Who is Nakamura calling out? John?
Are you asking me that, or are you reading the question? Because I saw something pop up there and was checking that out.
I'm asking you. It's a question. I thought you froze or something. I'm like, what? Yeah.
Oh no,
who is he calling out? Like, if it's not CM Punk, right? Like, what? Is there even an alternate rumor? What's the story? Because Nakamura seems to be calling out a mystery opponent. Is it Brock Lesnar, perhaps? I saw a theory that it was either Brock or Punk, which either way, it's kind of big. And is this for a match at Survivor Series? What is all this Nakamura stuff? Talking to a mystery man that he will fight.
Well, you're talking about a guy who disappeared, right? That's what he said. And he wants him to come back. Brock makes a lot of sense. But Brock would probably only come back at the Rumble. So I could see that happen. Or maybe Nakamura's in the Rumble and then Brock comes out. Not a great WrestleMania match for Brock, but yeah, it's something.
It's better than Omos?
I guess, but it's still nothing spectacular. Like, I would think Brock and Gunther would be the match to go with, but maybe they have different ideas, I guess.
So you don't think anything resolves with Nakamura and his mystery call-out tomorrow?
I think they drag this out. It's going to keep going. Bobby Roode. No, I think Bobby Roode, apparently he's not wrestling anymore.
Yeah, that'd be a little odd. Bobby Roode. Maybe they bring back Dolph Ziggler?
Yeah, probably not. You saw him with the AEW people, like he was in like some sort of club and a bunch of AEW guys.
Yeah, but that was at a comedy show that him and his brother were doing, and they've been doing those comedy shows together for years, even when Dolph was in WWE. So that I saw that picture too, and Ryan Nemeth, the Dolph's brother, was like, "You're making it seem like he's with AEW people, but he was just with a bunch of people that were at our comedy show."
Right. Didn't see any WWE people there, but
I guess not. But maybe it was like near an AEW show. Like, I don't know where that took place, I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Dolph in AEW once he's able to, once the 90 days is up. It's going to happen, I think.
I think that would be good. That would be good. Matthew Henley says maybe it's Rick Boogs. They were a tag team. That's true. Rick Boogs did get released, but maybe they're bringing Rick Boogs back to get revenge on his old partner, Nakamura? I hope not.
Interesting theory, but wasn't Boogs like mad about his release and said it was like some sort of conspiracy against him or something? Usually when you do that, it kind of burns you when it happens.
Well,
so
Nia Jax got brought back.
Yeah, well, that's because
she had some weird theories after she got released.
That's because of The Rock, though. Like,
still,
remember she walked out one time. She didn't want to wrestle Sasha Banks, and then The Rock told her like, "Oh, go back," and she came back.
Go back, jabroni. Okay. Survivor Series goes down tomorrow night. We're going to preview Survivor Series War Games. We have Gunther versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Gunther, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World Championship against Zoey Stark?
Yeah, she won the number one contendership in the
I
Battle
know.
Royal, yeah.
I know, I'm just... Like, it's a 5-match card, and this is one of them? Like, what the hell? Carlito was supposed to wrestle Santos Escobar, but Carlito did a promo with Santos Escobar tonight where Carlito was upset with Santos Escobar for injuring Rey Mysterio, and Santos Escobar came out and blamed Carlito for the breakup of the LWO, and then they had a brawl, and the refs and agents separated them, but then Santos showed up from behind somehow and kneed Carlito in the shoulder, and then we went to commercial, and Carlito's being helped in the back, and Santos attacked Carlito again and injured him. A Dragon Lee ran off Santos Escobar and then asked for the match against Santos tomorrow because Carlito cannot wrestle. So it will be Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar in just a random match that could have happened on SmackDown that's being thrown on this Survivor Series show. That's a weird one, too. Like, the other matches on this card, other than War Games, are just weird. Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar. Rhea Ripley versus Zoey Stark. Gunther versus The Miz. What is that?
It's called the mid card. That's what they have.
Lower mid card.
That's what happened.
Low mid card. That is some weak stuff. And then you have War Games, where you have Cody Rhodes versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Freakin, and Jey Uso, and Samuel Zayn, and your favorite, Johnny, Randy Orton, making his long-awaited return to the ring. He has had a serious back injury and been out for a long time. There was a thought that Randy may even retire. But Randy...
Oh, thank God it happened.
Randy did not retire. Randy is back. But there was talk, right, that Randy was done?
Well, he's been gone for like 2 years, no?
Has it been that long?
2 years? It's been a long time. The Usos were still tag champs.
Yes. And I really enjoyed... Let's see. Randy Orton...
Riddle was still in WWE.
2022.
But it was
May 2022.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
it's been a long
like a
time.
year and a half, almost 2 years, not quite 2 years.
But
he's been out for a long time, and he is back. And I really enjoyed the reaction of Jey Uso when Cody announced that Randy was back. 18 months, Angelo. Thank you. Year and a half. Did you notice Jey Uso kind of looking down like, Randy's back, eh? He might be kind of pissed at me. Right? Because they took him out. The Bloodline were the ones that took out Randy. And Jey Uso remembers. I think a lot of the fans maybe forget. But when Cody announced Randy, like Sami Zayn was in the ring, like doing a fist pump, like, yeah, we got Randy. Seth Rollins was happy. But then you see Jey Uso in the corner, and he's like, okay, we'll see how this goes, you know? So I think we're teasing something there with Randy and Jey Uso. Don't be surprised if Jey Uso eats an RKO at Survivor Series. Right? It makes sense. Randy needs revenge. I mean, Riddle, for months after Randy got hurt, was trying to get revenge for Randy against the Bloodline because they had taken out Randy. Right?
Right. Makes sense. It should happen, but...
Did you notice Jey Uso's reaction on Raw? Because I saw him and I was like, oh, Jey Uso's not happy about this. And I was like, why is he not happy? I was like, oh, yeah. I remember why Randy's hurt. I mean, not really, but, you know, storyline-wise, they were the ones that took out Randy.
It's true, but when you look at all the guys in the match, they all have history with Randy in a bad way. Like Seth and Randy, there's a long feud there. Even Cody, like Cody says, "Oh, we were in Legacy together," but they also feuded with each other as well after Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not all sunshine and lollipops with everybody. Just because like Jay, by the way, Jay is like super popular on Raw. Like he may have been, besides Cody, he was like the most popular guy on Raw. Like fan reaction, crowd, like he was incredible. So regardless what Randy does, like Jay's still going to be a top face, I think, on Raw. So I can see Randy being a heel possibly off this.
I think it'll take a little bit more than a feud with Jey Uso to fully turn Randy heel. I think if it's a Jey Uso Randy thing right after Survivor Series, if they go there, I think it'll be like a babyface on babyface thing. But I don't think they'll go there right away. Like they might have friction, but I don't think they fully go there. I think Randy and Drew McIntyre make a lot of sense right now. Randy and Judgment Day, like, it's a new babyface. He has to go through Judgment Day for 6 months, right? Isn't that what you do on Raw?
It'll be interesting to see what he does, really. I mean, the feud was the bloodline. I thought he'd go to SmackDown when he come back, so it's very surprising what he would do on Raw exactly. And who's to say that he's going to be on Raw only? I mean, he's in the War Games match, but doesn't mean he's exclusively on Raw.
Yeah. He's undrafted, and even if you are drafted, it doesn't really matter. And also, like, how often will Randy even show up? Maybe he'll get a Roman Reigns type of schedule, because when they announced Randy on Raw, it seemed like the perfect time for Randy to show up and RKO somebody. Cody's there, like, our partner is Randy. And it's still like 5 Judgment Day guys and 4 of the baby faces. And they're like, yeah, we have Randy. And the Judgment Day is like, oh no, Randy is coming eventually. And he wasn't there. They could have just beat up the 4 baby faces, but they decided not to for some reason.
But Cody was careful, though. Because Cody didn't actually say Randy Orton. He just said, I have somebody who I have a legacy with, and he's an apex predator. So he never actually said Randy Orton. He just had the fans pretty much say it for him. So that way, people weren't expecting the entrance, which never obviously happened because he wasn't there.
I guess. But, I mean, what Cody was saying was so obviously Randy Orton, apex predator, whatever, RKO guy. You don't have to say Randy Orton, but everybody knows who you're talking about. It was clear. It seemed like a spot for Randy to show up. Randy didn't show up. He's only going to be at Survivor Series. You think, you hope. And it's weird, too, because it's not like Cody didn't say Randy's name because they're trying to tease, like, maybe it won't be Randy. Maybe it will be somebody else. They're showing you graphics of Randy. It's Randy. It's officially Randy. Yeah. They've told you Randy Orton will be there. So,
well, Seth said he called somebody, and they said no. And Sammy said the same thing, too. So I'm guessing Sammy, it was Kevin. Seth, I have no idea whatsoever. Like, who likes Seth? I have no idea.
He called John Moxley. So. John Moxley's like, no, I don't work there. I can't do that.
Maybe. Makes sense.
Yeah. Seth is crazy. Have you seen his gimmick? He makes no sense, Seth, who did you call? I called Dean Ambrose. What did he say? He said he's busy Saturday night. He's colliding with somebody. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. It's weird. That'd be a good joke. That'd be funny.
He might be on Rampage, actually, not Collision.
Whatever. They're both tomorrow night in, I want to say Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh. Yeah. I want to say Pittsburgh, too.
Britsburg, Pennsylvania. Will Britt Baker be there? We haven't seen Britt Baker in a long time. It's her hometown.
Maybe she's the devil.
Maybe she is the devil. We'll talk about the devil. The Devils! Got to support the team. We'll talk about them a little bit later on. But let's stick with Survivor Series. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Randy Orton taking on the Judgment Day, which is a very unimpressive team of Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonuts. War Games. And then the women's War Games match, which is 4-on-4 for some reason. I don't know why.
They don't have enough people.
I guess. They couldn't find more people. They've got Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch taking on Damage Control, Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane. I'm looking forward to that more than anything else on this card. This is
Really?
Yeah, it's not a strong card. I think it's pretty bad overall. I'm hoping it turns out because, Gunther's wrestling and he's good. The problem is he's wrestling The Miz. Rhea Ripley's wrestling. She's good. The problem is I don't care about her match with Zoey Stark. I don't think Zoey Stark is a terrible wrestler. I just don't care about the match whatsoever because Zoey Stark has no chance. It's a nothing match. The men's Judgment Day match, I just don't care about. The babyfaces seem like they're clearly going to win, and even if they don't, I also don't care. Like, whatever happens there, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of WWE. Dragon Lee against Santos Escobar could be match of the night. That it's kind of fun, but it should be on SmackDown. It's got no place on a premium live event or whatever. I was actually more excited to see Carlito wrestle in his first premium live event in like 13 years, but oh well. And then we have the women's War Games, which I'm excited about because I really like the new Damage Control, and I like the idea of Becky and Charlotte not being on the same page but teaming together. I liked all the stuff that they did tonight on SmackDown. I like the friction in their match. This is legitimate star power. This is Hogan and Macho Man present day. Charlotte and Becky back together. The Mega Powers explode. The Mega Powers back together, but are they? It's a big deal. It's got a real story. It's a big shift in Charlotte and Becky's story. They had that whole giant beef, and then they separated, and now they come back together, surprisingly, kind of out of nowhere, to be on the same team in Survivor Series and War Games. You saw the kind of look at each other last week, the nod, but then there was a lot more tonight, and the promos were really interesting from Becky and Charlotte. Because obviously they're playing off the fact that they have tension with each other. But it doesn't seem like anything's really solved. Like, I don't think they're best friends. It didn't seem like they were best friends. Even the things that they were saying to each other tonight, it was like kind of looks that they were giving each other. It didn't seem all good. So that, to me, is the most compelling story out there. Goddamn Judgment Day versus the babyfaces on Raw. Like, spare me, man. It's been going on forever. It doesn't matter. So sick of it. Becky and Charlotte is a fresh new thing where it's like, ooh, they're together. They're trying to make it work for this one night. Like, it's a cool concept. It's different. It's the most compelling match on the show to me. I really like Becky and Charlotte. They're mega stars. And the fact that they're back together now is like, oh, okay. What are they doing here? It's good. The promos were good tonight. Charlotte, Becky, Bianca, and Shotzi opening SmackDown with a promo. Becky's like, people are wondering why I agreed to be teaming with everybody here, but I just wanted a chance to beat up Damage Control. She's kind of alluding to the heat with Charlotte, but not saying directly Charlotte,
Right. That part was okay. It didn't get better, though.
Well, they shouldn't have let Shotzi talk. That was horrible with the maniacal laughing and the carnage and the da-da-da. It was terrible. That was awful. I mean, that's...
Off-putting is a good word for it.
Yeah, but then Charlotte got the mic again, and she's like, War Games is a new beginning for us. All of us. The whole team, And, like, there was a lot of that stuff going on, and that was good. And then Bayley coming out, cutting a good promo. I like Bayley coming out. The crowd just boos her out of the building. She's just smiling as she comes out, just like smiling,
Right.
waving at them. Hello to you too, idiots. Like, she's fantastic. Bayley just cracks me up, saying, I've known Becky and Charlotte for years, and every time I talk to Becky, she'd say something bad about Charlotte, and every time I talk to Charlotte, she'd say something bad about Becky. And then she's like, Bianca, Shotzi, you got to wonder what they're saying behind your backs, Bayley's so good. And then they set up a tag match for the main event, and then there were some backstage segments where Becky and Charlotte and Bianca and Shotzi with some friction between Becky and Charlotte, and it felt real. It felt natural. It was good TV. And then they ended it with the main event of Bayley and Asuka beating Becky and Charlotte. Charlotte accidentally speared Asuka, who knocked into Becky and knocked Becky over, and then Becky got kind of mad at Charlotte, and they confronted each other, and then Bayley pushed Becky into Charlotte and then rolled Becky up for the win. Bayley and Asuka beat Becky and Charlotte, and then Bianca and Shotzi kind of had to get between them, setting us up for Survivor Series. War Games. It's good. Like, the angle for the men's Survivor Series matches, we got some baby faces against Judgment Day. The angle for this, the angle for this is, like, there's a lot more going on. There's all the inner turmoil with Damage Control. They just took on 2 new members. How long do they last in Damage Control past War Games? Are Asuka and Kairi Sane in Damage Control for the long haul, or is this just for War Games? Are they together,
Right.
the 4 of them? Bayley with that group, is she just there because they need at least 4 people for War Games? And after War Games, they're going to drop her? Do they drop her at War Games? There's a lot going on with Damage Control. There's a lot going on with now Becky and Charlotte. I'm interested. I want to see how that match plays out. I'm not really sure who wins either. I'm like, could be anybody. I think it'll be Damage Control. I think it'll be Damage Control because I think that the babyface team in the other War Games match is going to win. I think Damage Control wins this one, and then, Team Randy and Cody will win the other one.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but I wouldn't be surprised if both face teams win. But I'm kind of like you. I feel like a heel team should win and a face team should win. So, because on the heel side, you have Kairi Sane coming back. Second match, whatever, back. First big match right here. So they should get the win. And Randy coming back. His team should get the win. Regardless of what happens in the end, those teams should win, I think.
But
Again, you never know.
give you a different argument.
Of course.
Becky and Charlotte lost tonight. Bayley and Asuka won.
Yep.
We have a lot of matches on that undercard where the heels will likely win. Gunther Miz. Gunther is the heel. Surprisingly,
Yeah.
Gunther's the heel. Miz is the babyface for some reason. And Gunther's definitely going to win. So there's a heel victory. Rhea Ripley, Zoey Stark. I think Rhea's the heel.
Sort of, but sure.
Right? So she's going to win. There's another heel victory. Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar. I kind of think Santos might win because they're giving him a little push.
I feel against Carlito he was. Dragon Lee, it's tougher, though.
Yeah. I think Santos will win, though.
So give the faces the wins in the War Games. Yeah, I get your thinking on that, but
yeah,
I don't know. But I'm leaning again heel face kind of thing. Faces definitely for the men's, but I think more Damage Control in the end.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going with Damage Control, but I could see the baby faces winning too. I mean, you got Bianca, Charlotte, and Becky on the same team. That's a pretty strong team.
Well, they really threw me off tonight because they're going to lose again.
Right.
It throws me off a little bit, but stranger things have happened. And if they're building to something, it doesn't have to be Becky or Charlotte losing. Shotzi could take the loss, which probably will happen.
I can see both babyface teams winning the War Games, though.
Of course.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying? You see why I think that women's War Games match is the most compelling thing on the card? Because it could go either way. There's a lot of story into it. I don't know how good the match will be, but there's a lot going on there. I'm interested, you know? Like, to me, I've seen a lot of great wrestling matches. I don't think I'm going to see match of the year here tomorrow night, right? I don't think anything is going to be match of the year. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for some sort of advancement in the story, some sort of progress, something. And I think there's going to be more progress, more intrigue in that women's War Games match than any other match on this card. Everything else is kind of bland that could be, like I said, on an average episode of Raw or SmackDown.
Well, I think what we're looking for at Survivor Series is we're looking for moments, things to really stand out. Because War Games is just a bunch of carnage happening. So you're not going to remember the match, A to Z. I'm sure those wrestlers do, but we're not going to remember that stuff. Just some moments that stand out. So that's it. We're just looking for things that really wow, you're not going to forget that moment. But not every little brawl that happens, especially in the men's one, 5-on-5. It's just going to be just a lot of crap brawling, to be honest.
I don't like War Games matches.
I don't like it well at the top. It's just, they're just trying to do more stunts with that stuff. That's it. And I find the women's one, it hurts it more because they try to do stunts and they look bad.
I just don't like the concept. I don't like War Games. I'm not a fan. It's not my kind of match. I prefer just one-on-one title matches, big matches. This is not what I look for in pro wrestling. Some people like it. I guess it's not for me. So we're going with Damage Control to win the women's War Games match. We're going with Team Cody, Seth, Randy, Jay, and Sammy to beat Judgment Day in the men's War Games match.
Hold on
Any
a second.
chance?
We have the same picks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll go with the women's faces, I guess,
Okay.
just to be different, because I think we're gonna be exactly the same again. So
Yeah, that's true. Last pay-per-view we did for AEW, last preview we did, I think I went the other way on one match just because, and I wound up being correct. I think that was the one match that we differed on, right? So you'll probably be right.
I think we were exactly the same the last AEW pay-per-view.
So which was the one where I had one? Oh, it was a WWE one. I had
WWE was the Cena,
and I had Solo and you had Cena.
Yeah.
Solo. Where was Solo tonight? No Solo, no Roman, no Jimmy even. Just no Usos, no Yeet. No Yeet. Did you see that on Botchamania? There was a no Yeet thing.
I didn't see that, no.
That's one of my favorite promos in recent history, where Jimmy Uso is doing his promo I'm going to do this in LA Knight. I'm going to beat you. Yeet. And then he takes a phone call. He's like...
That was last week or 2 weeks ago, no?
And then he goes, no Yeet. That was the best. No Yeet. And they mentioned it. They had a clip of it on the latest Botchamania, which I thought was really funny. I'm not the only one who picked up on the no Yeet being very funny, because Roman doesn't like when he says Yeet. So he's doing a promo, he's all aggressive, ends it with Yeet, then his phone rings and he's like, oh yeah, no Yeet. That cancels out the Yeet. Yeet.
He's got to have a shirt that says no Yeet, because Jay has a shirt that says Yeet.
Does he?
Jimmy needs a shirt that says no Yeet.
He does need a no Yeet shirt. That's a good one. No Yeet. There was no Jimmy. No Yeet. No Roman, obviously.
No bloodline.
No bloodline. No Paul Heyman. Not even Paul Heyman to come out and be like, don't forget, Roman Reigns has been champion forever. None of that.
LA Knight's selling merch. I mean, it's not a great way for him to go into Survivor Series.
How come LA Knight is not booked at Survivor Series?
Disappointing. Very disappointing.
LA Knight and Kevin Owens beat Grayson Waller and Austin Theory tonight in an entertaining match. They were a pretty damn cool tag team. It was the tag team I didn't know I loved. You know, it's like, oh, they made Kevin Owens and LA Knight a tag team? If they were a permanent tag team, they would be the best tag team ever. They'd be unstoppable. Yeah. One guy, everybody says, pretends to be like Stone Cold. The other guy does a Stone Cold Stunner as his finisher. It's perfect.
I was just gonna say that.
They should call them like the Stone Cold guys. And then to go around, you know, just talking about Stone Cold and how awesome Stone Cold was and saying yeah and kicking people and doing stunners. Maybe drinking beer. What? Driving Zambonis. What? You know, shit like that. So they were a pretty cool tag team, and the Grayson Waller effect with Kevin Owens and Austin Theory was, in my opinion, the greatest Grayson Waller effect of all time. Because
it's not saying much.
No, but it was actually entertaining, and I've never enjoyed the Grayson Waller effect, but I thought that this one was good. Austin Theory came out dressed as Kevin Owens, and then Kevin Owens comes out and he's like all confused, and he's like, well, what is this? I thought I was the guest on this show. Why are you guys making fun of me? Why are you guys all rude and disrespecting me? And Grayson's like, I thought you were suspended. And Kevin's like, no, my suspension is up, and I saw that I was the guest, so I'm here to be the guest. And Waller's like, no, you're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be just making fun of you. And we don't want you here. And then Kevin Owens is like, well, joke's on you, buddy, because he points at Austin Theory. He's like, I've never looked better. He's like, he takes Austin Theory dressing up as him as like a compliment, you know, because he's all jacked and, you know, looking great, which I thought was a great line from Kevin Owens. He's like, I never looked better. Look at this guy, you know. That was great.
I like you stole my shorts. Like that.
Yeah.
Shit. I've been looking for those.
Yeah, he's like those
that.
shorts you're wearing, Austin Theory, those are my shorts. I've been looking for those for months. Like, you steal them from my bag? What's wrong with you? It was really good. And then LA Knight comes out, and the people go bananas. Grayson was like, oh, if it wasn't for Kevin Owens, I would have beaten LA Knight. And they mention LA Knight's name, and they're like, don't you know how this works? If you mention the guy's name, he's going to show up. And then they're like, what are you talking about? LA Knight's not going to show up. And then LA Knight shows up. And the people went nuts for LA Knight. Nuts. Not booked for Survivor Series. Main event, a crown jewel against Roman Reigns. Not booked for Survivor Series. And then LA and Kevin Owens beat Waller in Theory, which was fun. Stunner and the BFT, blunt force trauma for the win. It was good.
That's correct, actually. Yeah, you remembered it. Yeah.
Yeah, I always want to call it the BFD. Big fucking deal. But it's the blunt BFT. BFT, not BFD. BFD is not bad either. Huh?
When I think BFT, I'm thinking, it's a sandwich.
That's BLT.
But it's not a sandwich. Yeah, I know.
Bacon. What would a BFT be? Bacon, foie gras, tomato? Fancy. I think that'd be a BFGT. What's an F? Bacon, fennel, tomato?
Ooh, fennel wouldn't be that good.
I don't like fennel either. What's an F food that you could put in a sandwich with bacon? A BFT. Bacon and tomato. Probably some mayo in there too. What's an F? Bacon, fettuccine, tomato. Put some fettuccine in a sandwich, baby. Yum, yum.
That'd be different.
It would be.
Something.
Some people, it's like spaghetti sandwiches you can get. People do that sometimes. It happens, John.
Well, after Pizzaghetti, everything's possible.
Pizzaghetti, baby. I'm hungry. Bacon feta tomato. That would work. Thank you, Jason.
That's great.
Bacon
that's
feta
great,
tomato.
Yeah.
I don't like feta.
No, I like feta. Feta's good.
All right. I'm lactose intolerant, so I'm not going to a cheese. I'm not eating a BFT, but that is what a BFT would be. Yeah. Anyways, he's not booked on the fucking pay-per-view. What the hell are we talking about? Yeah, he's not there, which totally sucks. No LA Knight, no Kevin Owens. Why?
I hope this isn't a long show then. I mean, if you don't have all your stars, there's no reason for this to be 4 hours. 3 max.
Gunther will beat The Miz. Gunther cut a promo on The Miz this week. Pretty much ripped him a new one. It's pretty rough.
Well, I enjoyed it because it's what you would think, except the part about how, like, he's talking about the legends, like, you grew up idolizing them, and then they came and they treated you like you were garbage, didn't like you. But he was talking about, like, the Macho Man. It's like, the Miz never interacted with the Macho Man. Like, it's kind of a little bit off on the meeting your heroes, like, line. It didn't quite pan out that way. Chris Benoit wasn't his hero,
Yeah, but you know what he's saying. He's saying, the wrestlers never respected you. You're not respectable.
Yeah, no,
You're soft. SAWFT, soft.
The point was there, and it was good. I liked the emotion with that. I wasn't too big on the Miz's interaction there, but Gunther's fantastic, and he gave the Miz the over at the end of this, so clearly Gunther's winning. But yeah. I think it might be actually a decent match, though. Might be surprised.
I like seeing Gunther beat the hell out of people, and I like seeing Miz get beat up, so it could be good.
Right.
Exactly. When Bryan Danielson wrestled the Miz, it was pretty good because he just chopped the shit out of him.
But he lost.
Yeah, well, he's a nice guy. Gunther will win and will chop the hell out of Miz, which will be fun. Rhea Ripley will beat Zoey Stark. I'm really not looking forward to that match. And then Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar, kind of a toss-up. I'm going with Santos.
Yeah, we're the same on that. So, yeah. It's good that we have one different again.
This is one of the weakest Survivor Series shows I've ever seen.
I feel last year, too, it didn't have a lot. It was really based around the War Game matches. That was it. It was the whole everyone against the Bloodline and Bianca's team against Damage Control, too, I think, as well. That's everything Survivor Series is just based on War Games. The other matches are just the intermission, practically.
Yeah, but so last year you had Team Bianca. It was Bianca, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and Becky Lynch against Team Damage Control. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Bayley, Dakota, Io Sky, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley.
Right.
And then the other War Games was Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jay, Solo, and Sami Zayn versus Sheamus, Kevin Owens, Ridge, Butch, and Drew McIntyre. But then the undercard, I mean, you had Austin Theory, Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley in a triple threat, which, was pretty tired at that point, but Ronda Rousey and over Shotzi. I mean, Ronda and Shotzi is on par with Rhea and Zoey Stark tomorrow, right?
Fair. Yeah, okay.
But you also had AJ Styles beating Finn Balor.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. But to be,
this year
Dragon
you got
Lee,
Gunther
Santos,
and Miz, but I don't know.
Well, I would throw Dragon Lee Santos in terms of match quality. That could be up there with that match, I think.
I guess, and then you could trade Austin Theory, Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley for Gunther and Miz.
Yeah, it's a fair trade.
I mean, it's not far off from last year. 5 matches.
Well, if anything, without the Bloodline, it's not as interesting.
Yep. WWE shows are not as interesting without the top star in the company. They're just not. Bringing Randy Orton in is cool, but that's really all they're going to give. I know the crowd was chanting for CM Punk, but I don't think they're going to get him. And I did see a question earlier, like, what you think the crowd reaction will be if they don't get Punk.
Well, the show will be over, so.
Yeah, I think it'll just be like, oh, I guess no Punk. Because the show will just end, and they'll be like, oh, we didn't get Punk. And that'll be that. I think you're right.
I mean, if there's rioting afterwards, that's always interesting, but we're not going to see any of that. I wonder, and it'd be very interesting, because they always do those, like, post scrums, whatever, for all the premium live events, the big ones anyways. Is anyone going to ask the CM Punk question? Because they didn't last time.
They won't.
I mean, how can you not ask the question? When people are chanting his name and no one asks, that's kind of ridiculous. I know WWE more likely screens their stuff, but that's a question that definitely should be asked.
They're scared. It's not real media.
Crazy.
Like, they're not real journalists. They're just kind of plants or, exaggerated marks. Come on. You know what it is. Nobody's asking a real question. Everybody's just trying to be nice so they can get a free ticket next time they come. That's all that is. It's not real. You know?
Wow. It's too bad.
Part of the agreement when you sign up to get the free ticket. Don't ask real questions. Okay. It's all fake. It's all fake. Angelo Contagona saying, why can't Gunther leave the U.S.? I just Googled this, and apparently it's he can't leave the U.S. for the next 6 months due to some residency regulations, and he's only able to wrestle in the U.S. because I guess he's maybe trying to get residency in the States or something. I don't know.
You have to live in the States, and you can't leave the States for like a certain amount of time or something. Apparently that's part of it, so he has to do that for a couple of years.
You would think they'd be able to give a traveling athlete, artist, entertainer, whatever, an exception, but apparently not. Good thing the WWE is based in the States. Unfortunately for us, though. See, that really sucks. Because WWE's coming to Montreal, Laval, next month in December.
That's true. I'll be there.
And it is a Raw roster show because they're advertising Cody and not LA Knight. And the Raw roster is already pretty weak. And one of the saving graces of that roster is being able to see the Ring General Gunther in person. But now, apparently, because he's not allowed to leave the States, that includes Canada. He can't come to Canada. So we won't be getting Gunther here when WWE comes to town, which sucks because of the people on the Raw roster, he's really the guy I want to see. There's really no one else on that roster I'm that interested in seeing. Quite frankly, not a single person on that roster. I'm going because my son wants to go, but that house show is, I mean, Cody. I like Cody. Cody will be cool. I've seen Cody a few times now, and it's like, all right.
Well, your son loves him, so that's fine.
I like to watch my son watch Cody come out. You know, he's excited for Cody, so that'll be fun. But like, no Gunther. That sucks.
It's too bad, but I mean, it's not like, it's the end of the world. Like, they'll still have quite a few good stars. Good chance Kevin Owens might just randomly appear because it's going to be pretty much in Montreal, so you still have a lot of star power.
Randy Orton.
That'd be great. Fantastic, wouldn't it?
Would be all right. Would be all right. Did Ridge Holland and Butch break up on SmackDown tonight? Seemed like it. Ridge Holland walked away from Butch during a match, and then Butch lost to Pretty Deadly. Yeah. It
Well,
happened.
that's not a bad thing because I don't need to see that match ever again. We've seen it so many damn times.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little overdone at this point. I'm glad they broke up because we don't see that match. We need something else, something different. But it's not official that they broke up. He just walked out. We don't know if they officially split, but chances are more than likely yes.
Seems like it. Portier Concierge says LA Knight not on the pay-per-view. The WWE give up on LA Knight. LA Knight no longer championship material. I don't think that's the case. I think they just had no match for him on this show, and they've got other plans for him. I think he could win the Royal Rumble in January.
Yeah, there's a good chance, I think. I mean, who else could win the Rumble besides LA?
I think he'd be the favorite going in.
He has to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jason on Twitch says no KO or Sami Zayn in Montreal. I think Sami Zayn is advertised for the show. He's on the Raw roster. He'll be there. Kevin Owens is not advertised, but he may make a surprise appearance, like Johnny said. But Sami Zayn will be there for sure. In Laval, where Sami's actually from. So, even better.
Sami should be in the main event. I'm surprised he wasn't main event last time. But I think it was a SmackDown show, right?
No, because Cody was on that one. It was Raw. The last house show was a Raw one, too.
Right, Kevin was still on Raw back then.
They were tag team champions.
Ah.
Yeah, they had a whole moment celebrating being tag team champions together at home. And
they did Seth and Finn right as a main event. That's weird. Oh well.
Yes. Was it Seth and Finn? Yes. Cody wrestled Damian Priest. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will see what WWE gives us next month when they roll into Laval. But we will be back on here tomorrow night after Survivor Series. So stay tuned to the Ringside Report Network all weekend long. We'll be back after Survivor Series to recap the show. Shifting over to AEW. AEW is going to be here real soon. Couple weeks.
And they finally have like a discount now. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Because Uno, I guess, was making the rounds.
Okay.
Media appearances. And now there's like a discount now. If you go to their Ticketmaster, there's a discount code where you can get 4 tickets for the price of 3. And these tickets are all like $31 each.
Where are they?
Section 116, I think, or 106.
Oh yeah. It's
not
just
bad.
One section.
I think it's a couple sections. I think it's 107. I think it might be like 108.
Okay, whatever. I don't need to know all the sections.
Yeah. You already have your
they've
ticket,
got
so
some
you
discounted seats now.
They have some discounted. Yeah, I think I only saw Collision, but it might be for Dynamite too.
Well, yeah, I'll be going to both of those shows. Looking forward to it, and we may not get Gunther, but we may get Bryan Danielson. Because this...
Maybe.
Well, the tournament is going on, the Continental Classic. Bryan's going to have to start wrestling matches soon.
Well, he's not apparently scheduled right now, so what's going on?
Well, there's a limit to how long you can wait for Bryan to start wrestling his matches. It's round robin. Guys are going to have to start wrestling Bryan. Bryan says he's in the tournament. He's going to have to start wrestling. Boy. But yeah, he's not booked to wrestle at Collision because the Blue League, there are different leagues. There's Gold League and Blue League. And Gold League, everybody wrestled each other. We had 3 matches in the tournament openers on Dynamite this week, and the Blue League is supposed to kick off tomorrow on Rampage and Collision, and Bryan doesn't have a match. Do you know what the matches are? Who's wrestling who?
Claudio, I think, is wrestling... Man, I can't remember who's wrestling.
Eddie Kingston or no? Brody King?
No. Andrade? Claudio, I think, is wrestling Daniel Garcia.
Okay. Sorry. Right.
And I think Brody King's wrestling Eddie Kingston.
Okay.
Andrade's not wrestling because I think he was supposed to wrestle Danielson.
Yeah.
But that match is not happening.
Well, not yet. but they're in the tournament, and they haven't removed Danielson or Andrade from the tournament, so you would expect them to wrestle at some point, no? Maybe Dynamite next week?
Maybe.
Maybe Bryan's just needs a little bit more time?
The last time we saw Bryan, he did have like that eye patch, or his eye pretty much all taped up, so
Yeah.
maybe it's still not healed enough.
Well, I'm hopeful that he will wrestle here because they seem to be doing every week matches for this tournament. You know, the Blue League on one show, the Gold League on the other show.
Right.
So no matter what, we're going to get Gold League or Blue League. And if Bryan is actually in this tournament, you would expect him to be wrestling a match on the 5th or the 6th of December in a couple of weeks' time when AEW shows up here. So I'm hopeful, John. I know you like to be negative and you like to crush all my dreams, but that's okay. But I am hopeful that we see Bryan Danielson, the greatest living wrestler, to step into the ring here. I think that would be great.
Well, for your sake, I hope it happens.
Yeah.
It's just...
I'll be so happy.
Concerning.
I'll be so happy to see him wrestle. If he's in the ring, man, I'm going to go nuts.
That'll be a fantastic moment if it happens in Montreal. But I'm going to state this right now. It's a little concerning that everyone is wrestling so far in this bracket, but not him. So it makes you wonder.
Not yet. Yeah, it does make me wonder, and I am a little bit worried, but I'm hopeful. And if Bryan wrestles Eddie Kingston here, if the Eddie Kingston match happens here, you will hear me very loudly yelling the most terrible obscenities at Eddie Kingston. It's going to be horrible. I'm going to say terrible things to Eddie Kingston if he wrestles Bryan in my hometown. It's not going to happen. You got to check in with me, Eddie Kingston. Check in when you cross the bridge.
Honestly, I think if we get a Bryan Danielson match in Montreal, I think he's going to wrestle Claudio.
Maybe. I don't know. Why do you say that?
It's just the way I think it would work out. They'd want to give a good wrestling match, and they're both on the same team, and they know Montreal would just like to see a good wrestling match. They would react either way. So, and more than likely, it's one of their better crowds they'll probably get in December, except for the pay-per-view. So I think that's probably why.
We'll see. We'll see what they do. Bryan Danielson, if he's in the tournament, will wrestle Brody King. He will wrestle Andrade. He will wrestle Claudio Castagnoli. He will wrestle Daniel Garcia, and he will wrestle Eddie Kingston, because those are the guys in the Blue League. The Gold League, as I mentioned, already started. Jon Moxley, Jay White, and Swerve Strickland coming away after Wednesday night with 3 points, sitting on top of the league. And this is a round-robin tournament where everybody faces each other. You get 3 points for a win, no points for a loss, 1 point for a draw, a time limit draw, because these matches are all set for 20-minute time limits. So expect a draw or two at some point down the road. Maybe that Claudio Bryan match goes to a 20-minute draw, considering they're friends and they're in the same group. You know, I could see that one going 20 minutes with no winner. And then the person at the end of all the matches, right? You have we have 5 matches. Everybody wrestles 5 matches. You wrestle, it's 6 guys in the group. You wrestle each guy once, so everybody has 5 matches. And at the end of the 5 matches, whoever has the most points wins the group. And then the winners of each group or league or block, however you want to say it, they call them blocks, A block and B block in New Japan when they do their G1. AEW kind of taking the G1 format here with the Continental Classic, and I really love it. I actually think this is a great idea. When they first announced it, I was skeptical, but given who's in both leagues, given who's in this tournament, we do have some high-level talent, some of the top guys in the tournament, top guys in the company, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying it so far. I thought we had some good matches this week. So I'm fully invested in this tournament, John. I've got a whole leaderboard going. I've got points. I've got a whole system. All right, I'm ready. I'm going to keep track of this thing, and we will break it all down. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the Continental Classic. I think this could be a cool thing that AEW does every year around this time of year. Jon Moxley and Mark Briscoe had a good, solid main event for Dynamite this week. I really enjoyed that match. Moxley getting the win over Briscoe after his Death Rider DDT thing. Moxley earning 3 points, as I mentioned. What'd you think of that match? What was your match of the night on Dynamite this week?
I think it would have to be Roosh against Jay White.
Mm.
I thought that's what kind of hurt the main event, was that they had better exchange of just like strikes with each other, where I thought Moxley and Briscoe were kind of just doing almost the same thing again, and it wasn't as interesting because of that. So I thought Roosh and Jay White, a lot of intensity, and I like the finish too, where Jay kind of cheated to win. Where the other matches I thought were just kind of, well, they just finish. Where Roosh and White was more back and forth, and Jay had to cheat because he wasn't going to win. So I kind of like that more. Where the other matches were just kind of like, it's over.
The Jay White and Roosh match, because of the placement on the card, made me think, well, Jay White is for sure winning this match. And so I was a little bit less invested in it. I mean, it was a good match. It was solid. But with the Mark Briscoe, Jon Moxley match, it was the main event. It's the first match in the tournament. You could kind of set the tone with an upset. I thought that there was more of a shot for Mark Briscoe to possibly beat Jon Moxley. They kept talking about the first time Moxley and Briscoe had ever faced. And, you know, this could be a big opportunity for Mark Briscoe in this tournament. It didn't wind up happening. Moxley wound up winning, but I was just more like, I could see them maybe giving it to Briscoe here. I could see Moxley wanting to do the job for Briscoe in this match and still wind up maybe winning his league, you know? Because you could drop a match. Like, New Japan is really good at doing that in the G1, where somebody who's really strong and wins like all their matches, they'll drop a match or two in the tournament to somebody where it's like a huge upset that the person beat them, you know, like they're like shocked, like a shocking upset, and those happen in the G1. And I thought you could have started the Continental Classic off with, you know, a Jon Moxley loss, which I think people would have seen as an upset. Maybe not a giant upset, but it would have given Mark Briscoe a real shot in the arm going into this tournament. You know, would have made him look like, oh, he beat Jon Moxley in his opening match. And then he could lose his next match to, you know, whoever, Jay Lethal, and it'd be like, oh, okay, kind of regulated itself, you know, the kind of corrected in the whole grand scheme of the tournament. So I was interested in that match. I liked it. I liked Briscoe and Moxley. I liked Jay White and Roosh as well. I just didn't really believe Roosh was going to beat Jay White. I thought Briscoe had a better shot at beating Moxley than Roosh had of beating Jay White, just from a booking perspective.
I get that, but I thought Roosh's intensity was like, wow, like he looked very, very good in that match. And like, despite losing, I thought he looked like he was on par with Jay White. So I thought that was and again, just they were doing the striking exchange before Moxley and Briscoe did it. So it felt kind of fresh. Where Moxley and Briscoe did it, it was like, well, we've seen this before. Like, they kind of just did it already. So, and I thought Swerve and Lethal, like, it just felt slow, that match. And I get Swerve was selling his injury, but it felt like nothing was really happening in that match. And there was the opening match. That was very surprising. You kind of start with a slow match like that.
Let's try and make some predictions here on this tournament. Let's try and break it all down now that we have who's in it and how it all works. I'm going to give you some matches, and I want you to say, you know, who wins. Let's try and plot out how people will do in this tournament. Jon Moxley has 3 points. He beat Mark Briscoe. When Jon Moxley faces Jay White, who wins?
Wow. Yeah, that's
Right?
gonna be tough. That is a tough one. Whew, that might be one of the toughest matchups, to be honest. I have to go. That's one of those things that could be a draw, I think,
Yep.
or a count out kind of thing. I could see that happen.
Yep.
I'll go with that.
So, what? A count out, somebody
I'll go with
wins.
count. No, but double count out. Double
Okay.
count out, they both get a point, I think.
So
right?
they would both get a point. So they both be sitting at 4 points. How about when Jon Moxley faces Swerve? He'll beat Swerve?
Ooh. Again,
Tough too, right?
I think he'll beat Swerve, though, yeah. I think Moxley will beat Swerve.
That would have him at like 7 points total. He'll beat Jay Lethal with another 3 points, have him at 10 points. And then Roosh, I think he'll beat Roosh. So we have Jon Moxley finishing the tournament with 13 points. Fair?
That's fair, yeah. I think I can see that.
So we did Jay White, Jon Moxley. We gave Jay White a point there, so he'd have 4 points with the 3 points he has already. Jay White and Swerve. Right?
Yeah.
Don't give me another draw with Jay White, because that's not going to happen. If he has a draw with Moxley, he's not going to have another draw in the tournament, you know?
No. There won't be another draw. Tough. I think I'll go with Swerve on that one.
Okay. So Jay White would still be sitting at 4 points. Jay White and Jay Lethal, I think you got to give the win to Jay White at this point in time, because we have him drawing with Moxley and losing to Swerve, John.
Like, I don't know if Lethal's going to win any matches, to be honest, sadly for Lethal.
I could see him losing all of his matches.
Yeah.
So Jay White, at that point, I think we have him with 7 points. Jay White, Mark Briscoe.
Ooh. I go with Jay White, but still tough.
So that'd be 10 points. And then Jay White and Roosh.
Well, that already happened.
That already happened. Okay. So we have Jay White finishing with 10 points. So far we have Jon Moxley winning the Blue League, I think. Swerve, I think you have him beating Jay White, so he would have 6 points.
Yep.
And then losing to Moxley, right?
Right.
And then beating Mark Briscoe.
Yep.
And beating Roosh.
Yep.
So he would finish with 12 points, 1 point behind Jon Moxley.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then Mark Briscoe, I think he lost to Moxley. We have him losing to Jay White. We have him losing to Swerve. Maybe he beats Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
So he'll finish with 3 points. And what about Mark Briscoe and Roosh?
That's tough. I give it to Roosh, actually. I'll give that one to Roosh.
So Mark Briscoe would get 1 win over Jay Lethal, and Roosh would get maybe 2 wins over Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal wins no matches. So Roosh would have 6 points, Mark Briscoe would finish with 3, and Jay Lethal would finish with 0. So we have right now Moxley at 13 points, followed by Swerve with 12, Jay White with 10, Roosh with 6, Mark Briscoe with 3, and then Jay Lethal in dead last with 0. That sounds about right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it might not happen that way, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I could see it playing out like that. How about the Blue League? Let's pretend Bryan Danielson is actually in this thing, and he'll be wrestling all his matches. Bryan versus Brody King. I think you got to give it to Bryan.
Right, yeah.
Okay, 3 points there. Bryan Andrade. Give it to Bryan. Another 3 points.
Whoa.
How dare
you? He already beat Andrade. He already beat Andrade.
So he can do it again.
So maybe he can't. I think maybe you give that one to Andrade.
Okay, he has one loss. It's to Andrade. You better not have him lose any of these other matches. I'll be very mad. Braun and Claudio.
We have it at a draw, remember? We said
Okay.
draw.
So Brian has 4 points so far. I don't like it. Brian and Daniel Garcia. Brian will beat Daniel Garcia, 7 points.
Yes.
And then Brian
Yes.
Eddie
He lost to
Kingston.
Daniel Garcia before.
Yeah, he'll beat Eddie Kingston, 10 points.
He should. I agree. He should beat Eddie Kingston.
Goddamn, he will. He'll beat Eddie Kingston, who finished with 10 points. Brody King loses to Bryan Danielson. Brody King Andrade.
I go with Andrade.
Okay, so Brody King has won no matches so far. Brody King Claudio.
Claudio.
Okay. Brody King Daniel Garcia.
Oof. Probably Daniel Garcia, sadly.
I don't know. I think I'd go with Brody King in that one.
Like, I would, but the way they book it, nah, they'd go with Daniel Garcia, I think.
Okay, Brody King, Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, probably Eddie Kingston.
Oh, Brody King is finishing dead last with 0 points, according to Johnny North. All losses. Andrade, you have him beating Bryan Danielson for 3 points, beating Brody King for another 3 points, so he's got 6 points. How about when he faces Claudio Castagnoli?
Thank you very much. That's a tough one.
You have to have a winner because Claudio already had the draw.
Yeah, I'll say he beats Claudio.
Okay, so he's got 9 points so far, all wins. Andrade, Daniel Garcia.
See, this is where I think they might throw us off, and I think they'll have Daniel Garcia win.
Okay, so still 9 points. And then Andrade, Eddie Kingston.
Again, tough. Tough on this one.
Give it to Andrade.
Yeah, give it to Andrade, really?
No,
I was actually thinking give it to Kingston.
Okay, actually. Give it to Kingston. So Andrade would be finishing then with 9 points. Brody King with 0. Claudio, we have him drawing with Brian. That's 1 point. Beating Brody King. That's 4 points. Losing to Andrade. Beating Daniel Garcia.
Yes.
7 points. And then beating Eddie Kingston or losing? I think losing to Eddie Kingston.
Tough.
Right?
Very tough.
Tough.
Because they've flipped it back and forth.
Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. If he loses to Eddie Kingston, he finishes the tournament with 7 points. If he beats Eddie Kingston, he finishes the tournament with 10 points, which is tied with Brian, which would be tied for the lead, which would be just awkward in the booking.
So I guess he has to take the loss then, okay.
He's got to take the L. 7 points for Claudio. Daniel Garcia has lost to Bryan Danielson. I think he beat Brody King, 3 points. He lost to Andrade. Mm-hmm. He lost to Claudio.
Right.
And does he beat Eddie Kingston? No, probably not. So 3 points.
Probably not, no.
3 points finish for Daniel Garcia. How about Eddie Kingston? He's lost to Brian. He beat Brody King.
Yep.
Right? He lost to Andrade. He beat Claudio. He's got 6 points. And he loses to Daniel Garcia. So he finishes with 6 points. So, we have Bryan Danielson winning Blue League with 10 points. Andrade in second place with 9 points. Claudio Castagnoli in third place with 7 points. Eddie Kingston in fourth place with 6 points. Daniel Garcia in fifth place with 3 points. And Brody King dead last, 0 points. That seems about right. So then it would be at World's End at the finals for the Continental Classic, Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, I see Danielson in the finals. Just that maybe it's not Moxley, though. It might be Jay White or Swerve, actually.
Jay White makes sense.
Yeah.
Jay White makes sense.
But it could be Moxley still. I mean, it's hard to bet against Moxley at this point.
Moxley Danielson, though, again, at this point, with the Blackpool Combat Club, seems like they're all good friends and all cool. It doesn't really make sense as a final, does it?
Jay White and Brian makes a lot of sense.
Yep. I think we got to rebook that thing, John. Let's start again from the beginning. No, I'm kidding. But that was fun to kind of go through it. And
it was like 1 point off or something, right? Like Jay White was 1 point off or 2 points.
Yeah, we had Jay White with one. I think Moxley had 13 and Jay White had 12. The way we handled it,
something like
right?
that. Something like that.
Yeah, I think Jay White could easily win. He could easily win.
You got a comment coming in?
Harold Schneider dropping a super chat. He says, I think I will sit out Survivor Series. AEW seems more interesting as you guys go over it. I do like the Continental Classic. I like the tournament concept. But Shinobi saying, where you guys are mistaken is that Tony Khan does not book anything logically. I mean, that is not a bad point. Not a bad point. This is just how we would, book it and put it together. But Eddie Kingston will probably win this whole thing for some stupid reason because it's kind of like a Japanese wrestling tournament, and Eddie Kingston is obsessed with Japanese wrestling, and he's the Ring of Honor champion and the something champion, and he put all his belts on the line in this tournament, so he's going to wind up winning the tournament and winning his belts back and being a Triple Crown champion, and he's going to cry and blubber, and it'll be goddamn just sad, and the fucking AEW fans that look like Eddie Kingston will be all loving it and eating it up, and yeah, I'm not interested. I don't like Eddie Kingston so much, but knowing AEW, that's probably where they'll go. They got Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Rush, Andrade, Bryan Danielson, and they're gonna have Eddie Kingston win the whole thing. Makes sense.
No, but like he just said, he should make the finals at least. I kind of get that, but to me, I'm just thinking like, what's the best match people want to see? To me, Danielson versus Jay White is the best match people want to see, I think.
Yep. I think to really give this tournament some legit credibility would be to have a guy like Jay White win it. I'm pretty sure Jay White has won the G1. Yeah, he's won the G1.
Either way.
At least once he won the G1. And this tournament is, AEW's version of the G1. So why not have a winner of the G1 win this? If you could win the G1, you should be able to win this. That G1 tournament it goes for way longer, and there are way more people in it. It's a way bigger deal. I think you give the tournament credibility by having a guy like Jay White win. So I think Jay White is a good, solid pick to win this whole thing. I would like it.
Right.
I like Jay White. I don't like how they did him at the pay-per-view. I thought that was real bad. Because, you have a guy real strong coming in, and you have to do this injury angle with MJF, and MJF comes in, he's hurt, and he still beats Jay White. Doesn't make Jay White look very strong.
Yeah, but he cheated in the end, though.
Yeah, but he cheated, but he still, Jay White tried to cheat too. MJF just outdid him, and he was hurt.
Yeah, I get that. You're not wrong about that. Like, probably because I think they overbooked it was kind of the issue there. Like, they wanted to put a lot of drama, which I think was a good idea. It was like, oh, is the match going to happen? Yes or no? But because they did so much to lead up to that, and then to have 30 minutes afterwards with him injured, it did take away a lot from Jay White, which is too bad. But I don't think it really destroys him because it's his first loss in AEW. So
yeah, but it was also his first big match in AEW.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. I kind of said this too. It's like,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, just like he didn't have a big singles run going into this. He was always in tag teams. There was no big pay-per-views to lead into this. It was always tag team pay-per-views.
But I'm saying this is his first big match in AEW, first big pay-per-view match. And he doesn't just lose. He loses to a guy that's hurt. You know, like you try to take him out, you try to soften him up, it works, and then it doesn't even work. You still lose. If you can't beat him when he's hurt, you can't beat him when he's at 100%. And then Samoa Joe comes out on Dynamite, and he's like, I don't want to wrestle you now. I want to wrestle you when you're 100%. So Samoa Joe comes out like 3 days later looking like way more of a badass than Jay White. Jay White's like, I want to soften you up, and I can't even beat you then. Samoa Joe's like, I'll only take you on when you're 100%. It's Samoa Joe versus MJF at World's End. That's the opponent, by the way, on Long Island for MJF's final match in 2023 for AEW. I don't think there's going to be a bidding war of 2024. It seems like MJF has likely signed a contract extension with AEW. So, still a big match.
He's not going to. I don't think he's going to lose the title because we haven't revealed who the devil is yet. Until that happens, I don't think he's losing the championship. There's too much left on this title reign for it to end now.
And I don't think we'll reveal who the devil is until possibly World's End.
You're probably right.
Yeah. My favorite thing that happened in all of wrestling this week was Christian's promo on Dynamite. All of the wrestling.
It was very good.
Anything that happened, Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, anything, whatever, the best thing that happened was Christian's promo. Christian is my favorite guy going in all of wrestling. He's a master on the microphone. He's a master of professional wrestling. If they gave PhDs in professional wrestling, he would have it. If they gave black belts for professional wrestling, he'd be a 10th degree black belt. This guy is a master of professional wrestling. Everything he does is perfect. He's so damn good. Christian says, I didn't lose the match. Nick Wayne didn't lose the match at Full Gear. Luchasaurus lost the match. And he's like, Luchasaurus, that name is just a loser name. I'm going to rename you. You're my finisher. I'm calling you Kill Switch. Named him after his finishing move. And Luchasaurus is like not down with it. He's like, gotta make
it's
him
official
faces.
Now.
Huh?
They've actually changed it, like on his AEW profile.
For now.
It is now, for now, yeah.
I don't think it's gonna last. And then Christian renames Nick Wayne and says he's the prodigy Nick Wayne. And Christian just talks about how Nick Wayne is his son and how he loves him. And then Nick Wayne's mother comes out, and
you skipped over Nick Wayne like corpsing, but okay.
Oh, Nick Wayne was laughing so much when Christian was like saying all these nice things to him, and But Christian, just the stuff that he was saying, he's like, your father is nowhere near I'm a much better wrestler than your father ever was, a much better man, and a much better father to you. And he's saying this to the guy's widow and to his son, and the guy's dead, It's crazy, the stuff that Christian is saying. And he says it with such conviction. It's just incredible. And then Christian is like berating the mother.
Yep.
And then Luchasaurus stands between them, and he's like, that's enough. Luchasaurus is like baby facing out. And then Christian's like, stand down, get out of my way, and he won't. So then he pushes Luchasaurus, who like bumps right into the mother, Shayna Wayne, right? That's her name,
Yes,
right?
They just said Shayna, no? I don't know if they said the last
I think they
name.
were calling her Shayna Wayne. It's like all one word. Like Luchasaurus. She's Shayna Wayne. And Shayna Wayne went down, took a little butt bump. And and then they set her up for a concerto, and her son Nick Wayne like brought the chairs in the ring, and he was gonna kill his mother on TV, but then Edge came out and he's like, no, don't kill this woman on TV, or maybe I just want to beat up Christian. It was unclear what Edge wanted to do. I don't think he cared much for the woman. because he tried to attack Christian, but then Kill Switch Asaurus pulled Christian out of the ring and saved him. And then Edge decides to spear Nick Wayne, and then he set Nick Wayne up for the concerto right in front of his mother, who was pleading with Edge at the time. At this point, she's like, "Don't kill my son. I still love him. I just don't want him to be with Christian. He's a bad influence." I think she's anti-Canadian, quite frankly. I think she's a bit of an anti-Canadian racist. But nevertheless, Edge concertoed Nick Wayne right in front of his mother. Well, boom, killed the kid. And she's all sad, like going to see if he's okay. Even though he was just about to concerto her, like he didn't care. He don't care. And, Edge didn't care either. Because he was just like looking at Christian like, "I'm going to kill you, Christian." And I don't care about this woman. He didn't care about Shayna Wayne. He doesn't care about her. Shayna Wayne. He doesn't care that she's sad. He came out to save her, but not really. He came out to attack Christian and his goons. And, if she's sad that he's concertoing one of Christian's goons, so be it. Rated R superstar. Maybe she got a problem with it. She can join Christian's team. Be like, "Oh, that Edge. Like, I don't like the bad things that Christian is teaching my son, but I also don't like Edge attempting to murder my son. I think that's worse, What's worse, like a bad mentor or a guy who tries to kill your son?" Maybe she joins Christian finally and succumbs to his advances. And Christian, not Edge, has the live sex celebration.
Interesting. Okay. I don't think we're going to see that, but...
What? Are you saying that
no,
the live sex celebration that I saw on Monday Night Raw between Edge and Lita will never be reproduced in wrestling again? Really? They'll never do another live sex celebration? Live sex celebration. That's a Vince McMahon idea if I ever heard one. That's just classic Vince. No one else would think of doing that on TV.
There's things in the 90s and early 2000s that should remain there. And I feel like a segment like that definitely should stay in the past. It's nice that it happened. It was a moment. Yeah, it was nice, no?
Yeah.
It was nice.
It was funny, I guess. I don't know. I just think it would be funny for Christian to suggest a live sex celebration. I just think that alone would be pretty hilarious. But yeah, Edge concertoed the Shayna Wayne's son, Nick Wayne, right in front of her. She was sad. And Christian was very funny. "You're my son. I love you." So good. So good.
Easily the best story, I think, in AEW right now. Edge, Christian. That's the best thing going.
Best thing in all of wrestling.
I don't know about all of wrestling, but because some weeks it's not always the best, but definitely this week it was the best.
Yep, I think Christian is fantastic. I'm loving the Edge and Christian stuff on AEW Dynamite. It's great stuff. Great stuff.
The rest of the show is kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, not the best. Sky Blue beating Anna Jay and Ruby Soho, whatever.
Well, I see the potential in Sky Blue. I mean, she's very athletic. It's just a lot of the spots don't make a lot of sense. It's just moves for the sake of moves. And Anna Jay, she's getting better, but it feels like that's going to take a long time before she gets to the level they want her to be at, I think. And Ruby Soho is okay, she is who she is. Solid worker. But this match was just like a bunch of spots thrown together and then interference. And yeah, it's three-way, so anything goes, but the referee can throw people out when you see blatant interference all the time. No,
It's AEW.
apparently not. It's frustrating seeing stuff like that. There needs to be repercussions for your actions.
I agree with that. But, AEW world, it's like, anything goes. These things happen. Johnny, we'll be back here tomorrow night right after Survivor Series War Games to review the whole thing. As we are after every WWE premium live event, every AEW pay-per-view, and live here for every UFC pay-per-view as well.
Last WWE PLE of the year.
Wow.
Went fast.
Really? Yeah, the next one is Royal Rumble in January. January 27th. Well, we got a big, long break for the holiday season.
It's all right.
I like it.
We've done a lot of good work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed most of them, so it's all right.
Yeah, we deserve a break. We deserve the break, John. Okay, we'll be back here right after Survivor Series tomorrow night. Thank you to everybody tuning in. Shout out to the members, Angelo Contagonis, who says, what did you guys think of Christianing Luchasaurus? Yeah, naming him Kill Switch. I don't think it's going to last. When he was going to rename him, I thought he was going to name him Tomko. I thought that would have been good. Shout out to, remember Christian with Tomko in TNA? Tomko was a great goon for Christian. Really good. Worked well.
No, I agree.
Christian used Tomko very, very well. Was he with him in WWE too?
Yes.
He was, right?
Yep.
And then he followed him to TNA? How did that work? What was the sequence of events there? I don't remember.
Well, pretty much Christian got released in like mid-2005, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually Tomko got released, and he just happened to go to TNA as well.
And then they were just like, oh, they've been together before. Let's put them back together. And it worked really well. With AJ Styles, too. That was a great group. Christian, Tomko, and AJ Styles. Got AJ way more over. He went from being just a flippy guy to like a sports entertainer,
Well, it seemed like AJ learned how to talk when he was with Christian, I think.
Yeah. Christian, again, a master of the game. Just incredible. Shout out to Harold Schneider dropping a super chat. Angelo Contagonis dropping the super chat. Says, great show, guys. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Angelo. You're the new super chat leader of the night. Thank you. Thank you to Jason Pete, member of the team, watching us over on Twitch. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Angelo. Thank you, Leor. Thank you, Harold. All the members over at join.ringsidereport.net, join.ringsidereport.net, and membership.ringsidereport.net. And ringsidereport.net is our website. Go there. Go to ringsidereport.net. Lots of great content there, including last night's episode of Ringside Report MMA. So go check us out. We're here. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be here forever and ever. Forever and ever. We will be here. Super chat. And if you get that reference, I mean, that's a good one. We will be here forever and ever. Forever and ever. We will be here. Okay, guys. That's a little KRS one for you, John. Johnny don't know about KRS.
I thought you were trying to do Terry Funk, but you're screwing up, but it's okay.
No, it's a KRS one. Oh, I must rock the mic. Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone, Johnny North, and that's what we bring you here on the Ringside Report Network. Edutainment in the pro wrestling and MMA world. We love you. We'll see you after Survivor Series.
Thanks for sticking with us to the end. We would really appreciate it if you could help us spread the word.
You know the drill. Hit that subscribe button. Flip those notification switches.
We are an audience-supported network, so consider becoming a recurring supporter at membership.ringsidereport.net. Check out our website at ringsidereport.net.